Welcome back to Let's Learn, YugiTube's only blind deck building show. I'm Hardleg Joe, if ya didn't know, and today we're looking at Enneacraft, one of the strangest Yu-Gi-Oh decks released in the last 5 years. If you're unfamiliar with this thing, it is an archetype of all Pendulum monsters that are also all flip monsters, and they have the unique ability to special summon themselves face down and then flip up in response to things that your opponent does. And this is not an entirely new effect. In fact, there's like a really old card that does something like this, but it's not something we've explored in a whole archetype before, and it makes this deck very confusing to play against. I've encountered it on the ladder a few times, and I do not know how to deal with it, which is why we're doing this. The best way to learn how to defeat a deck is to play the deck yourself. Nothing will make the weaknesses of a deck more obvious than if you try to play it, because as soon as you get disrupted, you're like, oh, that's where the choke points are. And of course, if I wanted to play this deck myself, learning it could also be pretty useful. So that's what we're going to do. And as I said before, this is a blind deck building show. I'm a firm believer that even though resources online are cool, you know, there's a whole lot of deck profiles and deck explanations that you can find, you do not need that. You can sit down with most new modern archetypes, read the cards, and just figure out how they work based on all the effects and everything. So that's what I'd like to try to do. We're gonna sit down, look over all of these, and see if we can build a deck list of our own and test it out. Now, as a result, this will not be the best Enneacraft deck, or even necessarily like a good Enneacraft deck, but it should give us a baseline understanding of how the archetype functions, what its strengths are, and what its weaknesses are. And then if you want to go on to then look up some deck lists yourself, it'll give you a better understanding going forward, or, like I said before, you could just use this as a way to understand the weaknesses so you know how to play against it. So, without further ado, let's jump into that. Although actually, with further ado, real quick, I just want to say if you like this show, if you appreciate these deep dives into the archetypes, consider joining the Patreon, patreon.com/hardleggaming. There's a link in the description. These videos never do too big of numbers, so any amount of support you could give would really help offset that cost. So now, without further ado, let's jump into it. Alright, so whenever you're reading an archetype for the first time, there's always one type of card that you want to focus in to start with. One card that unifies all the kinds of effects. And chat already knows what it is. It's the field spell. Any archetype with a field spell, it's kind of like a cheat sheet for knowing how the archetype works. And Enneacraft does have a field spell, Enneanopolis, which is a cool futuristic city. I guess all the cubes live here. Alright, looks like this has 5 things, so buckle in. This is a bit much. First, this is always treated as an Enneacraft card, which probably means that you can search Enneacraft cards, and this allows you to get searched. Once per turn, during the end phase, remove all EC counters from your field, and if you do, your opponent takes 900 damage for each. You can only use each of the following effects once per turn. Target any number of Enneacraft Pendulum monsters you control, return them to the hand. If an Enneacraft Pendulum you control is flipped face up during the main phase, you can choose one of them and either return it to the hand or place it in the Pendulum zone. Alright, so this tells us a lot of things. It's not the most useful, but I am kind of already getting something. So first of all, I imagine, based on the fact that you have to set all these cards face down in order to put them in defense, you're not going to be attacking a whole lot. This does seem like a much more reactive deck. So it looks like your win condition is probably going to be this burn damage. Whatever adds these EC counters, I assume that stands for Enneacraft counters. And then the other effects allow you to basically reset things. Like, one of the problems with flips, of course, is that once they're flipped up, the effect activates and then you've got nothing else to do. A lot of previous flip-based archetypes have done things where they just flip them back face down again. But this seems to be going more the route of return them to the hand, and then you can summon them face down again. It doesn't search on activation, which is a little weird for a newer archetype. Usually the field spells do that, and as a result, you play the field spell at 3. In this case, I feel like we just want to keep it at 1 for now, especially if it is searchable. Maybe 2 if you're worried about it being removed, but I'm not sure what kind of recursion we have. And then from there, it can be a little tricky. Usually the next thing you want to go after the field spell is the boss monster, but I'm not really sure what the boss monster is, because all of these are level 9s that have the same attack and defense, the same scale. I guess this one is the one you are, so it's probably the best. But honestly, considering how few spell traps there are, I think it might be better to actually start out with those and read these first, and that might give us a better understanding of how we can use these monsters. So let's start. They've got 3 spells, and one of them is a UR, so let's read the UR and see what that does. Enneacraft Release. Place 1 Enneacraft Pendulum from your deck in the Pendulum Zone. If this card is in your graveyard, except the turn it was sent there, banish it, add a face-up Enneacraft from your extra deck to your hand. Okay, so this is your search card. It puts any of them into the Pendulum Zone. I guess that makes sense. Let's go ahead. Anything that searches a card, even if it like searches it in a roundabout way, probably going to be a 3 of. There's a reason they made this the UR. And having it be a little bit of extra recovery too is also good. I mean, you're not using the graveyard. Everything's going face up to the extra deck. So just being able to add it back is nice. Next up, we've got Enneacraft Rebirth. Like Rebirth, but with fundamental differences. So shuffle any number of Enneacraft monsters from your hand or face-up field into the deck or extra deck, then draw cards equal to the number shuffled. If your opponent normal or special summons a monster while this is in the graveyard, you can banish this and then activate one of these effects. Either special summon an Enneacraft from your hand face down, or change a face down defense position monster that you control face up. Alright, interesting. They have their own archetypal magical mallet. Although it does use monsters on the field as well, face up. So I guess if the cards have some kind of effect like in the Pendulum Zone that you activate, this is a way to like, you know, activate one, do a thing, activate another, do another thing, shuffle them into the deck, draw 2 cards, and then you can activate 2 more pendulum scales. And while most pendulum archetypes have something that like destroys it so you can put new pendulums in, this seems like an interesting twist on that kind of mechanic. So probably good. And the graveyard effect, being able to flip it up whenever your opponent summons, is a great way to react to something if you have a flip effect that you want to activate right now. But I am uncertain if you want to play this at 3 or just 1 or even at all. I guess it's really going to depend on what these pendulum effects are. If there's something where you do want to be activating 4 of them a turn, then you probably want to do all these. And then our final spell is Enneacraft Reset. Place 1 Enneanopolis from your deck or graveyard face up in the field zone, or if you control Enneanopolis, you can negate the effects of face-up cards your opponent controls up to the number of cards in your Pendulum Zone instead. If your opponent activates a card or effect while this is in your graveyard, you can banish this card, change Enneacraft monsters you control to face-down defense position up to the number of cards in your Pendulum Zone. Very interesting. So they've got a card that specifically searches the field spell, but if you already have the field spell, it does something else. I do always like that design. I think that might be the better way to go. I mean, there's a chance that they like banish this, but I think, yeah, having one of these that you can get back from the field or graveyard and then 3 of this is the way to go. It has the potential to be bricky, but so does just playing 3 copies of the field spell. And this way, if you happen to go second, this becomes a very strong go second tool. At least assuming you already have the field spell. Maybe you would want to play this at like 2 just in case, and that way you can guarantee that this will be live, but then going first it becomes useless. This is something where like having a side deck would really help just change the ratios of this. But at least for now, I'm saying we'll go with 3 of this and 1 of this. And if it turns out that you really, really want to see the field spell to the point that you would play 6 copies of it and not worry about perhaps getting extra ones. But for now, I think effectively 4 copies of the field spell is probably enough. And then from there, it just leaves the monsters. And usually when you're reading, you want to start with the higher level monsters, the boss monsters, but these are all the same level, all the same stat. So we're just going to start with the UR. I think I recognize this one. This one might have a summoning animation as well. So, Enneacraft Atori Mar. Just call it the whale. Just the whale. So, Pendulum effect. Each time a monster is flipped face up, place an EC counter on this card. At the end of the battle phase, if you have an Enneacraft card in your other Pendulum zone, you can target one monster your opponent controls with less attack than this card and destroy it. Interesting. So at the end of the battle phase, if you've got both scales, you can destroy it. And every time a monster is flipped, you can put an EC counter on it. So just hypothetically real quick, let's say we set 5 cards and then we flipped all of them up. We would have 5 counters on this. And then when does this remove? During the end phase. It does 900 for each. So 900 times 5, half your life points, 4,500. And I guess, well, let's see if the other ones have this. Real quick, before we read the rest of this card, let's check the other level 9s and see if they all have the same pendulum scale, because that would make this archetype a lot easier to understand. Okay, so that's the same, that's the same. Yeah, it looks like they all have the exact same pendulum effect. So you ideally want to end with 2 of these level 9s in your pendulum scales, and then if you can flip up 5 monsters in addition to that, the field spell will just deal 8,000 damage. Although actually, real quick, each time a monster is flipped face up, place 1. So I believe that means if you have the scales, they would both trigger, because it doesn't have like an if or a when, there's no time. It's just each time. Maybe chat can correct me on that. Yeah, 1 activation adds a counter on each scale, so if you add a scale, okay. So if you have both scales up and the field spell, and you manage to flip up 5 monsters, you just win. Does that work with 4 real quick? Let's real quick, 900 times, let's assume 8 counters. That would be 7,200. Okay, so you do have to hit exactly 5 with both scales, and getting that much card advantage would be a little tricky. We'll have to see if there's more searchy type cards, but I'm definitely getting the playstyle. You know, you don't have to be aggressive with this deck. You can just put 5 defense position monsters, and as long as you maintain the field spell and flip things up, you will eventually burn your opponent to death. So that's all the pendulum effects, and let's look at these monster effects. So first, flip. Change all your opponent's monsters to face down defense position. The monsters that were cannot change their battle positions. During your turn, when your opponent activates a card or effect on the field, quick effect, change this face down card to face up, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy it. You can reveal this card in your hand, special summon 1 monster from your hand in face down defense position. You cannot special summon the turn you activate this, except in face down defense position. Alright, very interesting. So the flip effect is very powerful. It's like Floodgate, Trap Hole, or Burying Mirror Force. Flip them face down and they stay face down forever. They can notably be flipped up by a card effect as long as they stay in defense position. They just can't change their battle position. So you can't flip it into attack. And that's just forever. You know, it's not until the end of the turn, just they can't change their battle positions as long as they're there. The negate is interesting because it's only on your turn, which I guess means like if you want to do stuff on your turn, this is your like anti-Nibiru card. Not that you'd have to worry about Nibiru because Nibiru only tributes face-up monsters, so this plays around it regardless. But if you wanted to play around some other kind of hand trap effect, if you had a way to put this face down. What I'm curious about is this bottom effect. You can reveal this in your hand, special summon 1 monster. You cannot special summon the rest of your turn except for face down monsters. Both of these seem like something that might be on multiple cards, perhaps even all the cards. So let's take another moment real quick and just scan through all the level 9, scroll to the bottom, Spia, yeah. Okay, so they're all exactly the same. Which is what I do seem to remember, like, and this isn't once per turn. So the sort of mind games of this deck is that once you have 1 Enneacraft, you can reveal it, and then summon a mystery card from your hand, and then reveal the same card again, and summon another mystery card from your hand, and reveal the same card. So if you've got 5 Enneacrafts in hand, you can just special summon all of them. You can even reveal it and special summon it itself. You don't even necessarily have to set the one you have. I mean, I guess you'd only start with 5 cards, so if you set 5, you know it's going to be there, and it's going to be the last one they set, so if they have like some spot removal, they'll know. But there is a lot of mystery sort of mind games going on. And yeah, that makes sense now for this effect, where you can reveal itself or anything else and set it, and then be like, go ahead, droll me. Go ahead, Ash Blossom me. Activate Imperm or whatever on the flip effect. If you do, I can negate and destroy it, because it's during my turn. And then if they don't, you just keep this on the field, and you can banish this when they summon and just trap everything face down. Can't negate hand traps. When your opponent activates a card or effect on the field. Ah, I missed the on the field. Okay, so this can't stop Droll, it can't stop Ash. It can stop, like, Imperm and the Dominus cards. I guess that is the good thing, you know, you reveal this, and then it'd be like, you gotta Dominus Purge me now. If you don't, you know, I can negate all the ones past that. Either way, I can see why this is a UR. You definitely want to play 3 of these. Although, I guess you don't necessarily have, I mean, I guess it depends what kind of searching we do. Let's go ahead and read the rest of these. And I guess since they're all SRs, we just go down the line looking at it. So we know they all have the same pendulum effect. We don't need to read that. And the bottom part of the effect is the same. I assume that the flip effect is different for each one. So after this card was flipped face up, while it is in the monster zone, each time your opponent adds a card to their hand by a card effect, they take 900 damage for each card. It's 9, the movie, the game. When your opponent activates a card or effect in response to a card or effect activation, quick effect, you can change this face down card to face up, and if you do, return 3 cards from the field to the hand. Alright, so this is not a negate, but it is a non-targeting bounce, which is pretty good. Although, that doesn't really help a whole lot. Like, you do something and they negate it, unless they have cards on field. The burning every time they search is really funny, although you'd have to flip it up first, and I'm not sure if you want to waste your flip on this. I can definitely see how this would be useful. It'd be something you'd want to have on there, but it's not something that's striking me as like, oh yeah, we have to make sure we have this every time, all the time. Next up, we got Pixia, which I believe is like a 9-tailed fox. It looks kind of like a fox or something. I mean, I guess unless pixies are known for having like multiple tails or tendrils or whatever that is. So after this card was flipped face up, while it is in the monster zone, your opponent cannot target cards in the field or graveyards with card effects. Holy floodgates, Batman! This is just Saint Azamina. They can't target their own cards, and they can't target cards in the graveyard. Yeah, this is something that, like, I could see you just want to instantly flip this up if you can. After this was flipped up. So if you can flip it up in, like, your turn, then it's just there as long as this is a monster on the field. Okay, and then its reactionary effect is when your opponent activates a card or effect that targets cards you control, change this face up, and if you do, negate that effect, then banish 1 face down random card from your opponent's hand. So this is, anytime you target, you can negate it, and then you get to hand loop them. They don't get it back. Just 1 random card. You don't get to see what it is, but they get to see it. Okay, that seems... I'm surprised I haven't been hit by that yet. That definitely seems like a 3 of. It's another thing you can set first turn, and then if they target you with like an Imperm or a Veiler or something, or hell, even just like on their turn, like if you want to end your first turn board with this and they try to like get rid of the field spell with MST or Cosmic Cyclone or whatever, you can just be like, yeah, you could just negate it. You negate it and then you rip a card out of their hand. Just very mean for no reason. Fallen in the Virtuous. Yeah, that's the exact one I should be thinking of. I was like, what targets in the modern day? Fallen in the Virtuous? You want to get rid of my face down card? No, not today. Alright, next we're going to go to the Scorpion, the Tail. After this card is flipped face up while it's in the monster zone, each time a monster is sent to your opponent's graveyard, they take 900 damage. Each time a monster is sent... Yeah, so if they synchro summon, they send 2. Even though they sent 2 monsters, they only sent them 1 time. So yeah, it's for each instance you would take 900. And then as for its reactionary effect, when your opponent activates a card or effect that would destroy cards on the field, you can change this face up. Monsters and Enneacraft spells you control cannot be destroyed by card effects for the rest of the turn. So this also hits Fallen and the Virtuous. You want to destroy me? Nah. Nothing can be destroyed. No monsters, so it protects your face down ones, and it protects your Enneacrafts. So you don't even have to necessarily negate it. Yeah, it works. I mean, that also helps against like Raigeki. It helps against Harpy's Feather Duster. Assuming you would even play traps in this deck, it doesn't have any natively. Yeah, that's another one where I could see like maybe you want to play this at 3 just because the amount of protection it gives you, especially in this format. I'm sure there are other formats where like this one's better or this one's better. But I assume if you're going to start your turn, you want to have like 2 protection cards, and then I assume some of these have to be more disruptions. Anyway, the last one is the Spider, the Spia. After this card is flipped face up, your opponent cannot activate cards or effects in response to their card or effect activations. Ah, no more chain blocking, I see. You send 2 monsters to the graveyard for your Draco Tails? Choose one. You can either add them back with the Arthelion, or you can activate the cards in the graveyard, but you are not allowed to create a chain. That's very mean, especially to these modern archetypes. And then its reactionary effect, when your opponent activates a card or effect as Chain Link 3 or higher, change this face up, negate the activation of your opponent's cards and effects activated before this card in the chain, and if you do, destroy them. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm liking this. You know, maybe it's just me. I haven't had a chance to play Draco Tail. I haven't had a chance to play Cool Tune. Maybe those decks are really fun, especially when played against each other, but it's been really frustrating trying to play a slightly older deck where it's like, I fuse with 2 materials, and those materials don't also plus me when they go to the graveyard. So having something like this that basically punishes them for synchro or fusioning with cards that then do something in the graveyard seems really, really nice. I mean, I guess that's really good to know. I don't think I've encountered that yet, but, you know, if you're playing against an Enneacraft and you have any reason to believe that they might have this on the field, just don't go to Chain Link 3. If you go to Chain Link 3, bad things are gonna happen. Alright, so that's all the big monsters. They're very powerful, and, you know, now that I'm looking at it, we do have quite a few. I don't know if this is a deck that even, like, plays hand traps or can afford to play hand traps, or if you just want to have, like, as many of these to reveal as possible. But yeah, at least right now, this is seeming like the ratios I want. Maybe we'll find out that, like, things are really searchable and we'll remove one of these or remove one of these or even have everything down to 1. But right now, I'm liking this. And that just leaves all the level 1 monsters. We've got 5 of them, and again, we're just going to start with the only one that's a UR. Deftero Enneacraft, the Long Diamond, or I guess the Yellow Diamond. Someone in chat was saying most people just call these the, by whatever color they are, and most people call these the animals, because these names are not conducive to human speech. They're very complicated. I don't know what language this is. It feels like technical speech or something. Regardless, we've got the Long Yellow Diamond, Pendulum effect. Each time a monster is flipped face up, place an EC counter on this card. You can pay 900, reveal 3 Enneacrafts from your deck. Your opponent randomly picks 1 to add to your hand, shuffle the rest into the deck. You can only use this effect once per turn. Is this the UR because it's a searcher, or do all the level 1s share the same effect? Because that does kind of change things. EC counter, pay 900, reveal 3. Oh boy. So all of these are searchers? Wow. Okay. So first of all, I was wrong earlier where I was like, oh, you want to end with these in your pendulum scales. You do not. It doesn't matter what ends in your pendulum scales. Any card in the archetype will add EC counters. As long as you have any 2 cards in the pendulum zones, you're going to be burning your opponent. And yeah, now this makes a whole lot more sense. This is absolutely, like, Crazy. So you're basically going to be activating this, search a card, activate this, search a card, shuffle those two into the deck, draw 2 cards, and then as long as you get 2 different names, you can search 2 more cards, and that's how you can end up in a position where you're activating Enneacraft and then setting 5 of these cards. Because you're going to start with a 5-card hand, and you're going to go to 7 cards just by doing that. No, you're going to be going to 9 cards. Because if you can activate each of these once, you'll be having a +4. Okay, I'm getting. The big question, at least with these, is like, if they're all the same, why would it matter which one you pick? They're all roughly the same. You could maybe just put them all at 2? I don't think you want all at 3, because that would just be the whole deck. That might also, that does create a weird dynamic too. I guess if you're, like, if you want to guarantee that you can get to, like, this guy or this guy, you want to play them at 3, and then you can just reveal all 3. But at the same time, if you are fairly confident that you're going to be able to activate this 4 times, that means, like, the first time you reveal 1 of each 3, and then the next time you reveal the 2 that you haven't searched and then, like, a second copy. Before we get too lost in the sauce trying to figure out ratios or whatever, let's take a look at what this monster effect, because I've got to imagine that that's the thing that makes this a UR. So, flip. Banish 1 random card from your opponent's hand until the end phase. Why would you do this? That's so mean. When your opponent activates a card or effect that includes an effect that adds cards from the deck to the hand, you can change this face-down card face-up, add an Enneacraft from your deck to your hand. You can reveal this card in your hand, special summon 1 from your... Oh, do they all do that? Even the low-level ones also have that same monster effect? So you can reveal any Enneacraft, and they all summon. You don't even need, like, a high-level one, just any card. Flip, remove a card from the hand. When your opponent searches, search an Enneacraft. So you just get another one. I mean, yeah, if your opponent searches, you do want to search an Enneacraft, but searching an Enneacraft during your opponent's turn doesn't really help. This would only be useful if your opponent was playing the Molch Army that lets you draw when you summon from the hand, because this doesn't summon from the deck, it doesn't summon from the extra deck unless there's a card I'm unaware of that summons itself face down. Yeah, like, that's cool and all, but I think you could probably get away with just playing 1. Especially if you want to save UR dust. Like, I don't think you really need this effect, but maybe the rest of these are just that awful. I don't know, let's just go down the line again real quick and see. So, you know what, let's do it this way. Flip, destroy 1 monster your opponent controls. Simple, that's how you get stuff in the graveyard. Flip, negate the effects of 1 effect monster your opponent controls until the end of this turn. Flip, shuffle 3 cards from your opponent's graveyard or banishment into the deck. And flip, destroy 1 spell trap your opponent controls, and if you do, special summon 1 monster from your hand in face-down defense position. I feel like destroying a monster is probably the most useful, but, I mean, I guess especially, like, if you're using, was it this one, where your opponent summons? If your opponent summons a monster while this is in the graveyard, you can banish this to flip 1 face up. So they normal summon, you flip this up, you destroy it. Or you take a card out of their hand, or you negate its effects. Let's see what the actual, like, flip in response effect is. When your opponent activates a monster effect in the hand, you can change this face down card face up, add an Enneacraft from your deck to your hand. Ah! So that strikes me as like a 3 of. Especially if you're going first. This is a level 1 too, so you don't need to special summon this. You would just set this instantly, and then if, like, you try to search and they ash you, you get to search anyway. If they droll you, you get to search before the droll resolves, so you get at least 1 card. Yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, what does Blue Diamond do? When your opponent activates a card or effect that includes an effect to special summon a monster, change this face down to face up, add an Enneacraft from your deck to your hand. Do they all just, like, flip and search a card? When your opponent activates a card in the graveyard or banishment, change this face up, add an Enneacraft. Okay, so we're just getting more searches. Your opponent activates a card or effect that includes effects that sets cards. That's that. So if you're in the mirror match, if you're in the mirror match, this is really good. Play 3 of this in the mirror match. You can destroy their field spells, and you can punish them for summoning Enneacrafts. Yeah, none of these seem especially good. I think just because you want to search, I would probably do the weird thing of like, let's play all of these at 2. Yeah, these are going to be interesting ratios. I'm sure there's some tech cards I'm not thinking of. Give me a moment. I'm going to have to go over these again and really kind of think about, if I was going first, is there something I want to flip up on my first turn? Because again, earlier I was talking about playing this to just flip this up, and then Lava Golem is a special summon, so we can't looking for cards that are good going second that aren't useless going we get Eclipse, we can just... Alright, so after spending way too long looking at different options and possibilities for this deck, this is the version I came up with, at least to test it first. And we've swapped over to MD Pro because I wanted to show some of the side deck options we were considering as well. The thing about this deck, at least from just reading it and not having played it, is that it seems like there's 2 big weaknesses. One is Droll and Lockbird. This deck needs to search several times if you want to live the dream of set 5 pass, and as good as some of these cards are, I feel like you need to set 5 if you're going to have a chance going first, and if they Droll you, it's just over. The other one is going second. If they can start destroying or picking apart your board before you have a chance to really set things, or if they can negate stuff in your hands or put some kind of floodgate up or something, then you're just kind of doomed. At the end of the day, I decided that trying to plan around a 2-of specifically wasn't really worth it. Like, yeah, we could play an anti-Droll tech. It is in pretty much every deck at the moment, but I feel like we want to prepare more for generic stuff, more utility, at least where I am at Diamond. Something like Triple Tactics Talent feels like it would be a better thing where it's useful going second, and if we go first and we do get Drolled, we can then look at their hand, take something out, and if they have to play 4 cards into whatever we do have set, that'll possibly give us a better chance. I also put Book of Eclipse. This is really good going second. You can flip all their stuff face down, then start doing your things without having to worry, or if nothing else, this baits out a negate. And obviously, if you go first and get this, you can just set it and use it as a disruption, and also a way to reset a whole bunch of your Enneacrafts, because none of the flip effects are like once per turn or anything. If they go back down and you can find another way to trigger them, they could just flip up and then destroy stuff again. So that seemed like a good tech. We're still playing Ash Blossom because it's just like the best hand trap. And if our opponent does happen to be on Perulia, we're going to need it. We're also going to need it to out Max C, because even though this is a flip deck that is based around setting cards and doesn't use the extra deck, it still loses really hard to Max C. They would get 5 draws off of it. I guess you could make like a half board. This is one of the few cases where you're like, yeah, I could just get 2 disruptions. But for every disruption you set, you are giving your opponent another board breaker. So it's literally a useless endeavor. You might as well just do all 5 and have no idea. So that's what I decided to settle on, but there were a bunch of other options we did have. Like obviously you could play Droll yourself, that shuts down other decks, and if you do, you can play Designator, and then Designator will stop the Droll if you happen to draw it. There's also Dimensional Fissure, which I have run into a bunch, and I don't like because it's a floodgate, but I can't deny the utility it has in this deck. If you don't know, Droll is one of those hand traps that say you have to send it from your hand to the graveyard. So you can play 3-Dimensional Fissure in this because you do not care about the graveyard at all. And then like, the first thing you do is activate this, and then you can search all you want and your opponent can't Droll you because this outs Droll. It might as well be another copy of Called by the Grave. Which, by the way, I guess we do just want to put Called by the Grave in here, because, I mean, why not? I mean, maybe you don't want to play this if you're playing 3-Dimensional Fissure, but yeah, that's a nice round 42. You can also take out all these tech cards and just play the Mulch Armies, just, like, dare your opponent to do anything, because if you do get, like, a 10-card hand, you have the ability to set so much and flip up so much that you're just kind of good. Other options include Sphere Mode. This isn't good going first, but we do not need our normal summon. So you can very easily just normal summon this to your opponent's side of the field, and you've got non-targeting ways to get rid of it. Sol and Luna is also very funny. It's a quick play that lets you target a monster you control and a monster your opponent controls and do some things. If they're face up, you flip them face down. If they're face down, you flip them face up. So this allows you to basically Book of Moon your opponent's normal summon while flipping up one of your cards that can either destroy that or put some kind of like floodgatey effect like Pixia and just be like no targeting. Or I guess you could flip up this and steal a card out of their hand. Sure, why not? And then, of course, Destructive Daruma Karma Cannon, just a really good card for flipping everything face down again. Has kind of the same utility of Book of the Clips, but isn't good going first, but is good against Link decks. There aren't any in the format, really, except for RB, which is kind of like Rogue at best. So I think Book of Eclipse is fine, but this might be a potential for other things. So anyway, now that we've got an actual deck, the best thing to do is to test it out. And there's different kinds of testing you can do. If you're in a combo deck, generally I feel like what you want to do is try to find a combo, but this doesn't strike me as a combo deck. This strikes me as very freeform. You want to get a bunch of stuff set, but which ones you set just kind of depends on what you search with your 3 of, what you open, what you happen to draw off of this. So I think the best way to test it is to just go against the AI and test it out. And fortunately, because we're on MD Pro, I can play with these cards that I don't have to buy and craft on Master Duel and test against actually decent AIs and see how well they do. So let's go ahead and jump into a few duels. All right, let's try the first duel against Salamangrate. Not the strongest deck, pretty outdated at this point, but it does have somewhat modern sensibilities, and they are going first. Usually this deck can end on like a counter trap or something. We got no hand traps, which is not surprising since we're not playing hardly any hand traps now that I think about it. So we'll just come back when they're done doing stuff. They will probably just end on Link, so Book of Eclipse is not going to be the most useful thing. Alright, so they probably got some kind of counter trap, and they got a thing. Yeah, I guess we do want to go ahead and lead off with the release. So, yeah, let's pick the 1 of. Use the 1 of to get another one. Since we know we can get the 3 of later, and we're more likely to draw into it if we use the Rebirth, we just get one of the other ones. Scale this one, and then we're going to use the second one to get Rebirth. So, give me that. And then we're just going to go ahead and Rebirth. We'll shuffle back this one and the 2 in our scales. Goodbye, everyone. And we drew another one. Well, that's about as bad as it could be. We didn't get any of our field spells, and we didn't get... We only got one whose effect we have already used. Okay, so what we're going to do is just start activating this. Hello, I have the whale. And we're immediately just going to set the other whale, because they wouldn't expect that. And then we'll activate the whale. We'll set this. Not in front of that, because we don't want them to get cards back. It's weird, I would have imagined that one of their, or whatever this trap is, that they would already use it, but they have not. And we'll go ahead and set this one. And then we'll put this in the P scale. Because we can still get the counters, and it does still have the battle effect, so we're looking all right. We're doing pretty good. Let's just go ahead and pass on this. Oh wait, this is at the end of the battle phase. I need another Enneacraft. Okay, I don't have one. Maybe I should have saved 2. All right, show me what you got. Harpy's Feather Duster. If things would be destroyed, they are not destroyed. So, no. Oh, it does still kill my face down. They get a card back. And what does this do? While it's flipped up, every time a card goes to the graveyard. They've summoned a monster, so we can do this. We can flip up Mari, and then Mari just flips everything face down, which is going to make their Link summons quite a bit harder. Because they're just trapped down there forever. Battle phase. How did they know? Let's find out what this is. Ah, it was that. They just didn't want to do it. Okay, they don't know. So this is an unusual position, I would say. What do we got here? Okay, so we can banish this to get back the thing we had. Yeah, we might as well just try to do this. What's another one that searches? This. Give me the field spell. Although maybe I should select the field spell to play around troll. And then the field spell can return this to the hand. I actually don't want to return the others because we can do a lot of damage. Like, I don't think I've ever seen this deck attack, but it certainly can. And I mean, why shouldn't I attack? It just puts them closer to death. 3,000 plus 900 since they get hit by that. 2,000 plus 900. Yeah, we'll hit this just to do an extra 900 to them. And then we end our turn because the field spell will remove 5 counters, and that'll do a lot of damage. That'll do 4,500 damage. Well, this dealt a lot for a control deck. This dealt damage surprisingly quickly. Granted, they didn't really try to stop us at any point, but that's, you kind of got the idea. Let's try against something a little tougher, shall we? Okay, so this time we're going against full power Ryziel. This is before the ban list, so they got lots of stuff they can do. Good, we started with this, so we can set this. And then if they do a thing, they'll be in for some trouble. Pendulum scale. Go and activate this. It's probably these. Okay. Pendulum scale this. Activate. Now we go for these. Let's go ahead and do the truffle shuffle. Shuffle these 2 back in. Yeah, we keep the other 2. Draw 2. All right. We scale this up. I think we want to get to the field spell so we can get our win con on. So let's just go you. Well, we got the thing that searches the field spell. And then now that we've got the field spell, we can just activate this. Probably should have activated that instead itself, but it's fine. Also, I can set the Ash if I want to. And I guess I could set this again. Well, it activates a card in the graveyard of banishment. Yeah, I think I'd rather just have the counters. You could get another searcher and then search the field. Yeah, I keep forgetting that. Somehow, it's not quite clicking. It's like, yeah, if you resolve the search, you need to go through all the searches. And then I would have 2, and then the effects to pop stuff would be on. Okay. Yeah, we'll just Ash the bonfire. Get out of here. Okay, they've got Ice Ryziel. Do we want to just flip it face down? No, we want to wait for them to get a second one. Yeah, we're good. Now we would do it. I think. What's this effect? If summoned. Yeah, let's just go ahead and do this. So they get X'd. Then we flip everything face down. No, my pendulum zone! You're not allowed to target that. Get out of here. Banish? Yes. Oh yeah, I always forget this also just takes a card out of their hand. Do I want to flip a card face down? Yeah, you know what? Actually, I think I do. I'm gonna put the Mar face down again. The whale. Triple tack. Okay. Draw 2, I imagine. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so they're gonna get to detonator. Oh, I could have stopped that. Then they get to draw 4 though, and I'm not sure if I want them to draw 4. Fuck, do we want them to draw 5? Yeah, we'll wait for them to... Oh, they don't have another one. Okay. Let's just go ahead and destroy this. Yeah. Alright, they didn't have one more name to make detonator. Yeah. And then we'll burn them for 20... Ah, Ghost Ogre! Well, touché, salesman. That will stop the burn damage. My win con! Fortunately, we have a pretty easy way to get that back. Ash Blossom. Oh, you... Fortunately, they can't target anything, so I can P-scale this, and I don't have to worry about this. I don't have to worry about this being in perm, perhaps. Yeah, either Rebirth or the field spell. If we flip this, they'll all go face down. But it will take up their extra monster zone. Yeah, maybe we should just go for the win con that way. Then we Rebirth. And we just shuffle back you, and you. And 3! Oh, what do you know? Give me back my field spell. Activate this effect. We're gonna set this. Yeah, I'm definitely not playing this properly. The sequencing on this is very unique compared to a lot of other decks I've played. Yep, just another whale. And then I can remove, it's fine. We're gonna go to end phase. We finally get to remove 4 counters. Plug in. Not today, buddy. Flip. Get out of here. There's 5,400. I'm pretty sure this is lethal with the field zone. Yeah, it's pretty close. Keep forgetting what this does. When your opponent activates a card or effect, change 1 face down. Oh yeah. I'll put the whale face down. And then it's fine because it's anytime a monster is flipped up, so we can just flip these up ourselves. And then go to the end phase. Remove the counters. And 3,600. There you go, very lockdown. I wonder, why are these monsters so big? They're just big for no reason. 3,000? Holy shit. So yeah, we didn't get max seed, we didn't get drolled or whatever. We did face a little bit of restrictions, but you can see how this is very control oriented and also much more skill testing in terms of sequencing than I expected. But very fun. You know what, let's just go ahead and save my final thoughts for the final thoughts. Alright, so after playing this out, this deck looks more fun than I thought it would be. And I was really worried when I heard it had a control flip-based style that it would be very grindy, it would be a lot like Weather Painter or Ghost Tricks or something like that. But the really high attack values and the incredible burn damage ensures that, like most modern games, this isn't probably going to go past turn like 3 or 4 at most. You can usually kind of get a lock on things or get utterly decimated before that happens. The one big problem is I didn't notice any choke points. I guess the closest choke point is Rebirth. If you have an Ash Blossom and you're wondering where to Ash this deck, it's going to be on this. That is where they're going to get the most utility. If they don't have a way to get to the field spells so that they can bounce cards back, they might be stuck with 2 cards in their Pendulum scales and almost nothing they can summon, or nothing good. They are also inherently limited, like every time I drew a Book of Eclipse or an Ash or a Maxi, I kinda just wished it was more Enneacraft. Like so many other Pendulum decks, even though this isn't a Pendulum slop style deck, a big combo, you do just kind of want to play all the Pendulum monsters and not really anything else. And that can make them really predictable. They have so much utility and there's no way to know what they have, so it's really hard to play around them. Although I am also noticing, like, if these do become like the best deck, if there's something you have to side against, what you really need to do is, 1, don't make a chain link over 3, but I guess more importantly, find some stuff that is non-targeting, non-destruction removal, because they don't really have any way against that. Kaijus, Lava Golem if you can do it, Sphere Mode if you can really do it, and the big one that a lot of people have been talking about is Evenly Matched. Evenly Matched kind of cooks this deck alive. I do not know what they do against Evenly. I'm kind of curious if maybe you would want to play just like some Solemn Judgments or some Dark Bribes in here to shore up the one weakness. And of course Droll, but it feels like at least a lot of the decks on Master Duel have already planned against Droll. So overall, very interesting, very informative. I do feel like I at least know this deck a lot better. I can recognize what it's trying to do and what it may have to set up. And I'm curious to see how it turns out, if it does end up being a really high tier deck, or if its weaknesses kind of hold it back. Regardless, thank you all for watching. Thank you especially to everyone in chat who came down and watched it live and gave me tips and tricks. Again, if you like this, like the video, comment, subscribe. These don't do a whole lot of numbers, so any way you could support, especially the Patreon, would be really appreciated. Otherwise, until next time, good luck and have fun.